Hi everyone, this is Mr Neel Raithatha, also known as the Wax Whisperer. Thank you for joining me in my latest video. This is of a patient who attended with bilateral, so when we say bilateral we just mean, in reference to ears, both ears, fully occluding, very dry earwax and hardened skin, dead skin, keratin. And they also have very narrow ear canals, so we're just commencing with their worst left ear. And as soon as I inserted the suction probe and I made contact with the surface of this wax and skin plug, it was just too solid, I could feel it. So this patient's been in the past. It's not the first time they've attended. They actually attended only 6 months ago. So their wax and skin production is quite fast. I would say on average, if you fit in that waxy category, as we call it, so most people, everyone has wax more or less, and for the majority of the population, this wax migrates out of the ear naturally, but probably 5 to 8% of the population, they encounter what we call ceruminosis. So ceruminosis is a buildup of wax. That's the medical term for it. And I think if you fall in that ceruminosis category, I would say on average, you're probably 12 to 18 months that you need your ears cleaned. Some people are far more regular, every couple of months even, while some are a lot more infrequent, so every 6 years even. So used the suction, it wasn't working, the wax was too hard. I then put some olive oils in and attempted it again, but still too hard. Now I managed to see a little opening on the posterior canal wall where I could glide the ear hook, and you can see I've got this first plug out of dry, hard wax and skin. Now, so this patient attended last in January, and obviously reading through the notes before the client attended, just to familiarise myself with the patient's ears, and it was a lot more complex this side. So last time the notes stated that the wax and the dry skin was more lateral near the entrance, and I was able to remove just with an ear hook. But today it's fully occluding, it's from the entrance all the way to the patient's eardrum. Now, this is beyond the second bend now. You can see it's really impacted. You can see the top part of the eardrum only, but on the left-hand side, you probably just saw some flesh, and that's the second bend. And you can probably just see it on screen there again on the left-hand side. That's the second bend. And after the second bend, the ear canal veers off to the left, in the case of the left ear, and on the right ear, it veers off to the right. So I'm just trying to get this ear hook into the core of this wax. And we've got to be careful. We're in the bony part of the ear canal. Hence why I'm going more into the core of this. I'm trying to avoid the canal walls, and I'm bringing this forwards. Now, even though it didn't come out in one singular piece, I still brought it forwards. So the ear hook, in a way, has served its purpose. And now that the wax and dry skin plug's near the entrance, I'm going to revert back to the suction. And I'm going to get suction grip, and I'm going to manipulate this around that second bend. You can see it on the left-hand side. The flesh, that's the second bend of the ear. So the ear canal, it takes an S-shape anatomy. So you've got 2 bends. As you enter the ear, about 1/2 centimetre to the ear, you've got your first bend. Another 1/2 centimetre further in, up to 1 centimetre, you've got your second bend. So that's the outer third, that's the cartilaginous portion. Beyond that, beyond the second bend, the ear canal generally straightens, and that's the bony part of the ear canal. And then about 1/2 centimetre away from the eardrum, typically, not always, but for most people, the ear canal narrows and it widens again. So you can see the eardrum there, but there's some keratin. Now, the ear canal, the floor of the ear canal is a bit bumpy. You can see you got the canal, and there's a little ditch there near the eardrum, and then the wax and the skin is staying in that cave. Now, this is quite crusty, so I've just put some oil in. And you can see that lovely view as the oil's being suctioned, because we want this to detach without having to work too hard, because it's on the sensitive part of the ear, and it was attached to the bony part of the ear canal. It's a little ditch, and that's probably preventing the wax and skin to migrate. And again, just got some residual skin right on the eardrum. This is hardened skin, keratin. You still see the oil behind it. That's just providing some lubrication. So the patient's ear anatomy itself could in part be a reason. You can see the entrance is obviously very, very narrow. So they've got several things here. Beyond the second bend, the ear canal widens. So they've got a really wide medial part of the ear canal, as you can see there. You've got the whole view of the eardrum. And you can see the annulus on the eardrum. So the annulus is the white ring on the periphery. So it's almost like a smiley face. It goes from about 11 o'clock on the left to about 2 o'clock on the right, that ring on the outside, and that's called the annulus. That's made up of fibrous cartilage tissue and, or should I say connective tissue, and it gives the eardrum its strength. It stretches the eardrum. So then obviously the eardrum, you want it to be vibrating, and for it to be, in order to vibrate in response to sound, it needs to be taut, it needs to be stretched, and that's the annulus provides that. So it's kind of a fibrous cartilage and connective tissue layer. That's the eardrum, that's nice and healthy. So, and then the outer third is bendy, the second bend is narrow. So there's a few obstacles there. They've got a bumpy ear canal where skin as it migrates can get trapped. So this is their right ear. This is, for them, it was the better of the two. I just put the drops in straight away. Again, it's quite a narrow, bendy ear. I can only just about insert the suction probe in there. You see on the left-hand side, there's a little gap there. I could have gone with the hook, but on this side, the wax plug, it wasn't as stubborn, although it was still attached, but there's no need for me to use an ear hook here, especially in the bony part, when I could, at least at this stage, continue with the suction, microsuction to see how I fare. So I've just mobilised this. We're right near the entrance here, but this plug extends all the way to the eardrum. You can see all these hairs there. More elderly patients, I would say, have more hairs like this. As we get older, we all, men, I would suspect exclusively men maybe, we get hairs all the wrong places, in our nostrils, in our ears, but where we want it, at the back of our scalp, or our foreline, it ceases to exist, speaking from experience. And you can see there, I've managed to wriggle that out, quite a large plug. And if you watch to the end, you'll see the still image. See the eardrum, so that it's still partial blockage, but the patient's hearing is significantly better already. But let's remove this for the patient. So you can see there's no need for me to use the hook here. It's pretty straightforward with the suction. Just going to glide this out. There we are. Just going to tease this out of the ear. Similar to the patient's left ear, there's some keratin. It's not as deep, it's still near the eardrum, but it wasn't attached, so it came out relatively easily. There's just some keratin there, mid-canal. It's nice. Healthy eardrum. Again, you can see the annulus, and that's the still image. I've just put a pencil tip there to give some perspective. I hope you enjoyed that video, guys. Keep well, take care, and be nice and be kind. Thank you.